Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another round of the Middle of the Pack Racing League Winter GR86 Championship for 2024. Goodness me, hosted on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. It's been some time since we've been racing, but it's for a good reason, and that is because we are returning from a mid-season break. Indeed, only 2 weeks ago, we wrapped up the first half of the season with the conclusion of our first Cup, indeed that being none other than the Classic Cup, and now we are back today to kick off the second half of our championship season with the Far East Cup, a celebration of circuits on the far east side of the globe. And as our drivers get ready to go racing today, we kick off a Japanese doubleheader beginning at the one and only Okayama International Circuit for round number 5 of 8. Located in the city of Mimasaka on the Honshu Island of Japan, this is a circuit that has been a stalwart of both major international and domestic racing series over the years, including the likes of Super GT and also Super Formula, and has recently played host to likes of the Pacific Grand Prix back in the days of Formula 1 in the 80s. At its core are 11 corners as arrayed out across a 2.31 mile circuit, and all in between. The key fundamental factor of this circuit is one thing and one thing only, and that is incredibly tight, particularly in the second half of the lap, and therefore overtaking around here comes at a premium, and track position is the absolute key to success if you want to win at Okayama. But as our drivers get set and ready to go racing today, we welcome you all to this live broadcast, albeit it's a post-round broadcast for your viewing pleasure. But what does that mean in reality? It means the racing you're seeing occurred earlier this week, back on what was Wednesday the 21st of February 2024. We're bringing it to you this fine Saturday the 24th of February as if it were live, and that means here in the content booth we do not know who takes the fastest lap in practice, let alone who takes pole position in qualifying, nor who the winners of the race are. And we do ask you guys and girls in the respective chats to avoid any potential spoilers, but if you know the outcome, indeed enjoy the story as we go along. Speaking of the chats, this broadcast is being brought to you on 2 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly on YouTube at TX141TX, alternatively Paul Walsh on YouTube, or if you're more of a Twitch person, you could be tuning in right now via twitch.tv/TX141. Welcome to you guys and girls on either chat. And who is TX141? Who is Paul Walsh, I hear you ask? Well, I'll introduce myself as your host and commentator. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit of the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now we're bringing you all your racing action this season, and we'll come into our schedule for today. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time at UTC. As we can see, in what will be just under 12 minutes time, we'll be going into our qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration, after which in the grid will be set, we'll be going racing for 30 minutes and another sprint race at 5:30 this afternoon. But as our drivers get set for a wonderful day of racing at the Okayama International Circuit, well, let's give you a recap of the season so far and what we still got lying in wait. For as we can see, we started off all the way back on the 17th of January with the Classic Cup beginning in Canada at the Mosport Circuit. There we got off to an absolute thriller of a season opener, and that momentum continued into our American triple header that rounded off the Classic Cup, with round number 2 being hosted at Lime Rock Park in the US state of Connecticut. And on the 24th of January, it's almost as if it was Toyota GR86's meets NASCAR meets Middle of the Pack Racing League, and it carried on into Willow Springs International Raceway for round number 3 in the state of California. Now on the 31st of January, many a high curb caught out a driver. It was at Watkins Glen last time out on the 7th of February in our first feature race round of the season, in round number 4. The stakes could not have been higher, particularly in the AM Drivers' Championship, in terms of sealing the deal, who are going to the mid-season break on the high of leading what will be the overall Drivers' Championships and also our winners of what was the Classic Cup, and more on that very shortly. But now we have returned for the second half of the season, and we begin our Japanese doubleheader today, as we mentioned only moments ago, at the Okayama Circuit. And after today, on the 28th of February, we'll be making our way to the Tsukuba Circuit, the tight and twisty time trialing circuit, and that's going to be an absolutely brilliant circuit for battling action with its many corners in round number 6. And then we make our way a little bit further southeastwards to what will be Australia for our doubleheader to wrap up the season, starting with round number 7, our sprint race, final sprint race that is, and that'll be at the Oran Park Raceway, which we bring back from the grave and been demolished in 2010, but it's going to be back and fully alive on the iRacing Simulator service as of the 6th of March. And then we bring everything to a close and the curtain down at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit in our feature race finale on the 13th of March in round number 8. We've got an absolutely cracking calendar still awaiting us, and plenty more racing to come. And going into the second half of the season, many of you may be wondering, well, how do the championship stand? Well, we start off by taking a look at the Pro Drivers' Championship, and this being the overall championship, of course, but also the finalised results from what was the Classic Cup. And as we can see here, your championship leader, Jason Landry, leads the way on 191 points by 25 points over Francois Schink, despite the fact he was denied the victory at Watkins Glen after a post-race penalty, and Schink taking the win and moving closer. Jason Landry right now is the man to beat. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to see drop scores accounted for as of the standings next week. And that's going to shake things up. But still, Landry leading the way. From Schink to P3, it's Daniel McConnell on 146 points right now on his debut season in the middle of the pack Racing League Series, doing very well on to P3, with Logan McKenzie keeping it in the hunt on 132 points, and it's a further 6 to Mika Hendricks in P5. And then it's 10 to Jaden Callaway in P6, who continues to steer clear of Edwin Offrey, with the Canadian driver there only 2 points behind. And it's Zachary Lovelace, Carl Ranieri and Milan Harris who complete your top 10, with Bester SP11, James Logston and James D. Carr bringing up the rear of the field on 49 points in P12. But that does mean that Jason Landry is your Classic Cup champion. Congratulations to him. We then come onto the Pro-Am class, and here we can see Julian Jones. Much like Jason Landry in the Pro class, it is Julian Jones in the Pro-Am class who has absolutely dominated this season so far. Indeed, some of his rivals have come close in 1 or 2 races, but nobody has been able to knock back the momentum of Jones, and it shows. With a gap now of 30 points, can anybody stop him? They'll all be hoping the different style of circuits in Japan today will definitely serve to do so, with Alan Lyon P2 on 138 points, only 14 clear of John Lauzon. From them, it's to David Adeyuyi in P4 on 107 points, 17 points behind the top 3 and still staying in the hunt, but finding himself in a bit of no man's land given the gap to the top 3 and also the gap he's built up to Kevin Clark in P5, with a sizable gap there of what is the best part of 35 points, with then Matt Best P6 only a further 9 behind. And it's Sammy Hendricks, Samuel Bernardi, David Turner and Adam J. Ballard who complete your top 10, and keep your eyes on Samuel Bernardi, who continues to try and find his feet in the Pro-Am class. But then Bester SP11, and last but not least, it's Jermaine Warren on 20 points, and that wraps up the Pro-Am standing so far, and congratulations to Julian Jones for becoming our Classic Cup Pro-Am champion. And then come to the AM class, last but not least, and it's Nick Bader who leads the way by a single point over Kirk Lane. And many of you will remember it 2 weeks ago, the thrilling conclusion between the two drivers of Bader and Lane in their fight for what was 6th place in the AM class at Watkins Glen. It didn't go right for either of them, but in the end they managed to battle it all the way out, and it was Bader who came out on top by a sliver at the checkered flag, and that makes him your AM Cup champion. But Kirk Lane right now only a point behind, and looking at the bigger picture and looking to strike back immediately today. Mark Senegal also had a dismal day at Watkins Glen and falling to P3 on 123 points. He's 6 behind and still looking to be in the hunt later on this season, with Tim Chong in P4 on 114 points, 7 clear of Billman DaCosta, but it could not be tighter inside the top 5 of the AM class, and that's before we consider Glenn Bratton is only a further 3 points behind. And then Ian Hennebury on 97, 3 ahead of Roger Ganesh, with Kevin Manning and Carl Peterson completing your top 10. Nick Jakubov sits P11 at best the rest as the results continue to surge through for him, ahead of Jared Kelly, Jason Seelin, Jesse Johnson Jr., and also what is there, Christopher Holliday, who completes your championship standings. And meanwhile, we come to the Teams Championship, and here we can see the ongoing overall Teams Championship for this season. It is Sunday GT Turtles who hold a 30-point advantage over ITD West, but keep your eyes out for the second place team because they are building a lot of momentum and they are moving closer and closer to the top. Texas Speed Sim Racing hold a slender advantage in P3 of 2 points over West Coast Best Coast, as the rivalry between the two teams of third place continues to ignite, with Bear Pope Zero wrapping up the top 5 down 228 points, and they're 47 points clear of AlphaTauri Rich Energy, where sizable gap to Slipstream Slavs, and Forever Alone, the two teams separated by only 2 points. So a further 8 to Team Bearpoke, with Photan Clan completing your top 10, and Bester SP11 is Caboose Crew, followed up by Rockefeller Races Esports Purple and Esports Red teams, with both teams having difficult seasons so far and looking to turn that around. So to give you a quick summary, and we do have the confirmation and the congratulations to our Classic Cup winners. They are, in the Pro class, the number 5 driver for the Sunday GT Turtles of Jason Landry. In the Pro-Am class, the 133 driver of Julian Jones from ITD West. And in the AM class, the 233 driver of Nick Bader, the privateer. And well, congratulations to all 3 of our drivers. They received the first prize of the season, and that being $5 for winning in their respective classes in the Classic Cup. But can they make it 2 cups out of 2 come the end of the season? We'll have to see as we begin that journey today. today. And we begin that journey at none other than the Okayama International Circuit's full course, located near the city of Mimasaka in the region of Okayama on the Honshu Island of Japan. And thank you to iRacing for their brilliant simulator and the fantastic circuit maps that come with it, including this one. And this circuit recently received a graphical overhaul on the iRacing simulator service, which you're going to be seeing very shortly in its full splendour. But as our drivers roar their way around this circuit today, they'll find there's plenty of corners to enjoy as they roar their way down towards turn number 1 and then into the opening right-hander of first corner. They'll very quickly find themselves switching back into the left-hander of Williams, before they go flat out through the Moss S in honour of Sterling Moss and up towards turn at number 4 Atwood Curve. There's the uphill right-hand curve, which is off camber at the exit, which our drivers will need to contest, and as they make their way onto the back straight, it's a long run, the longest straight in the run down towards the turn 5 aptly named hairpin. And there, the slice corner on the circuit, our drivers will look to battle the way on through, not being afraid to go high on the outside given the camber of the corner, and as they switch back into the double left-hander combination of Revolver and Piper, turns 6 and 7, it's all going to be about trying to settle into an order and get ahead. But you come into the switchback hairpin sequence of Redmond and Hobbs at turns 8 and 9, which will see our drivers gradually wind their way uphill before they make their way downhill into Might Night corner at turn number 10 and into last corner at 11, aptly named, as they roar the way into the start-finish straight to do it all over again, alternatively to take that checker flag. Now, before we do go racing, let's give you a quick reminder of the rules. We're not allowed to go racing without them, of course, and setup-wise, drivers are running a fixed setup that has been provided by the Middle of the Pack Racing League, and that's going to stay throughout the season for parity between the machines, and car fuel loads have been restricted to 34 litres. And qualifying-wise, an open qualifying format shall be used, lasting 15 minutes, albeit split into 2 equal halves, and we're going to see the AM class on the circuit for the first half, so the first 7.5 minutes will purely have the AMs out there, and then the Primes and Pros will take to the circuit for the second half jointly, and that'll be in the final 7.5 minutes. As for the sprint race, the race shall start via a standing grid start, as is a tradition of this series, with each driver having one fast repair available should they be in an accident in the early stage of the racing. A driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points, and a safety car shall not be deployed at any point during the race. Indeed, we saw 2 safety cars at Watkins Glen, but that's because that was a feature race 2 weeks ago. But we're back to the sprint format, so no safety cars today. Indeed, if our drivers are involved in an incident, well, that could be at the end of their race early on. But without further ado, that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. You're all here for the racing, and so are we. And well, as we do look back to the circuit side, we look to what is Francois Schink as he makes his way on through. And don't be fooled by the timer at the top centre of your screen, saying that we still have the best part of what is 45 minutes of this practice session to go. We can tell you that, in fact, the practice session is due to conclude within what will be the next 3 minutes, and then we will be going into our qualifying session. But as Francois Schink makes his way down into Might Night corner at turn at number 10, the car looking very wounded there, I must say, and I think a brief scrape at the inside pit wall as he makes his way on down. Well, the forever alone driver looking to try and make it back-to-back wins today after what was a win given to him after the post-round penalties at Watkins Glen, but still be happy to have earned it and had to put a dent into this man's dominance at the front of the field for Sunday GT Turtles of Jason Andre, who's parked up there right now on the start for the straight and perhaps practicing a launch, alternatively just taking a brief breather off the racing line. But either way, he's the man right now who's got it all to do and all to beat in terms of fact. He set the bar very high indeed in the pro class and overall. But as we do look to some of our Pro-Am drivers making the way on through, here's David Adeyeye, the privateer in the 132, and he'll be feeling as though it's another good day of racing to befall him today, given the fact we've seen some absolutely brilliant performances from the 132 drivers so far. And for those of you wondering why is he listed as a privateer when he's running an ITD West livery, well, given the fact that teams can only be made up of certain combination of drivers this season, given the fact we want to, because of fairness at Middle of the Pack Racing League, make sure teams cannot just run away and be dominant by being absolutely stacked with pro drivers or prime drivers. Indeed, they have to be a mixture of what is pros, primes and AMs. Alternatively, they can have only what is 2 drivers from each of the classes. Out of fairness, it does mean that our privateer here from ITD West cannot be part of the wider ITD West team because of the team's championship system. But still, he'll feel as though he's alongside his teammates there and looking to give it everything he can in the 1-3-2, and we look forward to seeing what he can do. And as he heads down towards turn at number 1, we look to Kirk Lane, the man who missed out by a single point in the AM Cup Championship 2 weeks ago. And well, the Bear Pope Zero driver will know that he wants to be back on top form today in what's a very odd battle between himself and Nick Bader. But in the end, it came down to fine margins, and that was that. But normally we'd expecting them to battle for the win, not battling for 6th place to take a Cup Championship crown. But that's the way the cookie crumbled, as they say. And as the Bear Pope Zero try and makes his way into turn at number 1, it's going to be a big reset. But as he gets set and ready to go, we've got 25 drivers here today. It is an absolutely brimming Okayama circuit. And well, very shortly we're going to be heading into that qualifying session D. The practice time is complete, and we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, as we transition to qualifying. We'll see you very shortly. us having transition into qualifying, we can return, and we do apologise for having to step away for a brief moment. To quickly explain for the uninitiated, we do this in our transition from practice to qualifying because we are taking a look back at an iRacing replay file to bring you this post-round broadcast as if it were live. And every so often, what can happen on that transition is all the qualifying times that are set by drivers at the end of the qualifying session are flashed up on the timing tower, and that's why we take a step away, because we don't want any spoilers, and we have a little mechanism which makes sure we don't see those times, and therefore it's no spoilers for us here in the commentary booth. But as all of our AMs begin to make their way out of the pit lane, well, it's going to be 7.5 minutes for them. It's go, go, go. Cole Peterson being one of the many out there, and we do have a grand total of 9 AMs in attendance today, all ready and set to go. As we do say hello in the YouTube chat there to Craig Pierce Gaming. Good evening to you, Craig. Hope you're doing well in the YouTube chat, that is. And always been subtitled since I've seen you there, but always a familiar face back in my Gran Turismo 7 broadcasting days, and Gran Turismo Sport broadcasting days, I should say. But enough about me. More importantly, what about our drivers? Well, let's look here at the 233 driver of Nick Bader as he loses the rear of the car on cold tyres going through outward curve. Gets the car stopped in time to avoid it going to the barrier. That's going to save him some time in the long haul in terms of towing the car back to the pit, but so easy to do. And the big question that's going to be on everyone's lips is, what do you need to do to take pole position at arguably the circuit that's one of the most important to get pole position at over the course of this season? Well, to take pole position at the Okayama Circuit, you need to be able to use all the road whip to your advantage. And that's something you could say at every single circuit in the globe, and well, it is very true. But around here, lap time is absolutely pivotal, and you need to be able to open up every single corner in order to be able to potentially target late apexes like no other, so that way you can carry all the speed on the corner exit and roll your way in towards the next one. The most technical sequence of the corners around here being the run through Revolver at turn number 6 into Piper at 7, which we're seeing Bader do exactly now, and then all the way through to the end lap. And it's the hairpins in this second half of the lap which really do dominate the lap time. This is where the lap is won or lost compared to that of other rivals. We see them going into turns 8 and 9, and we can get these absolutely hooked up with the fact these GR86 Toyotas not running any traction control as per the setup that's been provided to our drivers. Normally you would see them in the fixed setup races on iRacing, the official series, running traction control, but that's been switched off in order to make them a little bit more challenging to drive. And whilst they only may pack 212 horsepower out of what is that 2.4 litre boxer engine, I'll tell you one thing, the car delivers it absolutely smoothly, and that's going to be the craft of our drivers to make sure they don't overspin the rear wheels, what the car being front engine, rear wheel drive. But that's going to be the most important part to a qualifying lap around here. And as Bader makes his way onto his first flying lap after having a bit of a difficult warm-up lap, well, meanwhile we do look to Billman Da Costa as the Bearpoke driver makes his way down through the Mosses and in towards Atwood Curve. And a corner here which can definitely be at the precipice of setting up a move onto the back straight for going on the offensive versus another driver. And I suspect we're going to see plenty of a two-wide battle down this back straight in towards hairpin the turn at number 5. But who exactly will be the ones to battle over it? That's the big question. And some of you may be wondering, would a tow go well here in order to improve your lap time in the first half of the lap? Most definitely so, given the fact the first half of the lap is a much higher average speed in the opening 4 quarters compared to the second half of the lap. But once you're in to the more technical section around here, as we do see Da Costa going into Revolver at 6, this is where you don't want the dirty air over the front of the car, for the simple reason it is going to cause that front end to understeer wide and then cost you a lot of time. Therefore, our drivers will be looking to try and tactically gain the tow where they can. We'll have to see exactly where they can potentially gain that tow over the course of what will be their laps, as Da Costa makes his way on through turn number 8 and in towards 9. And as he does so, meanwhile, we look to Glenn at Bratton as he comes roaring on down through turn number 10 in towards last corner at 11 he goes. And as he does so, heading towards the timeline, well, Glenn Bratton very shortly coming to that line, and we're going to be jumping on board with Glenn Bratton for a flying lap of the Okayama Circuit. So he makes his way down the start finish straight in towards turn at number 1, looking over to his left hand side for his brake marker, and braking about 100 meters to corner 8. His car going a bit deep then as to catch the car in time. Ranches a little bit late on the brakes. He now makes his way into turn number 2 at Williams, and here not as aggressive on the brakes, in fact just a lift, tuck in and coast, and now returns to full throttle as he makes his way up through the Mosses sequence. Left, right, left he goes here. There'll be full flat out commitment all the way through as he serpentines between the apexes. Now onto the brakes at the 50 meter board there, coming all the way down to second gear, hits the apex nicely, nice early apex, and now powering out as he feeds in the throttle and makes his way uphill. You want to keep those revs as high as possible because these cars, they don't accelerate rapidly, and therefore every RPM you can hold is going to be beneficial to you in the long run as he makes his way down towards the hairpin. There's a brief breather here, but now looking to his left hand side for his brake marker. going to be around the 100-metre wall, but braking approximately 125 metres from the quarter apex down to first gear, and as he exits out at 42 miles an hour, now building up the speed before going into double left downhill here into Revolver. This is where the car can be sent to the gravel if you're not careful. Now to turn it, number 7, bounce the throttle, wait for it, and power back on as he uses the exit curve there to shore up the car, and now heading in towards turns 8 and 9. Looking to his right for his brake mark. It will be about 75 metres of corner apex. Nice early apex and immediately back on the throttle, but get the car over to the left hand side. It's such a short run between the two corners. It's almost like a chicane in a way. And as he makes his way through turn number 9, and now heading to the last two corners here. First he starts in might read the corner turn at number 10. And here it's going to be just a lift on the throttle with the upshift to third. And now in towards the last corner. Brief dab of the brakes here to settle the nose down. And through he goes, third gear. And to the timeline goes Glenn Bratton. It's been a smooth lap, bar mistake at the starter lap. But what's it going to be as he comes to the line? He's currently P6. As he crosses that timeline, it's going to be not an improvement there from Bratton. And it does look as though his first flying lap was the better of the two so far, but he's going to have 2 more laps available to him as Tim Chong has set the fastest lap in this session for the AM so far of a 44.952, 200 faster than Kevin Manning's P2 time at the moment. He's looking absolutely close as they call, with Kirk Lane a further 2,000s behind. Meanwhile, Nick Bader shatters the skies and moves into provisional pole in the AM class with 44.852, exactly a 10th faster than Tim Chong. And will that not come in too soon for Bader? And well, right now the 233 driver has definitely found his form this season. Ever since what was at the Willow Springs race, where he had an absolute brilliant performance, and then Watkins Glen, where he held off Kirk Lane for lap after lap. Well, right now Nick Bader definitely seems to have found his calling within the AM class. He makes his way in towards Atwood Curve at turn at number 4, and as he makes his way up through at the right hand here, letting the car go a bit wide, using all the width of the road there, no fear whatsoever. And well, the car's going to be at its lightest now in terms of the amount of fuel it's got remaining within it as he powers his way down the back straight. And if those tyres aren't up to temperature already, I'm not sure what he's been doing with them. But as they make the way down towards turn number 5, meanwhile we do see him as he heads onto the brakes here for the hairpin. You can see the car pitching forward there, and indeed all the way being loaded up onto the nose. It's a very lightweight machine over the rear axle. As he comes up through the left hand of Revolver, we look to Carl Peterson in the privateer Volt machine as he comes in towards turn number 9, and as he makes his way through the right hander in the number 250. Right now P5 right slap bang in the middle of the qualifying order, but decides to go into the pits, and well, that is going to be his qualifying session done and dusted. Peterson, I don't think feels as though he can improve any further. Perhaps he's hit a personal best in qualifying and decides to call it there, but 4 tenths of a Kurt Lane's P4 time. But look at that between the top 4 in this AM class, separated by 1.2 tenths. It's the closest we have seen at the top 4 all season, and Lane, Manning, Chong and Bader all coming out the gates absolutely flying, and that's absolutely brilliant. As Nick Bader comes into the pit, so does Carl Peterson, as we talked about only moments ago. Tim Chong's already in. Lane on one final lap here. Kevin Manning the same, and they're staying out there. Glenn Bratton as well on a lap. And Roger Ganesh, interestingly, not putting a lap in and will be starting from the very back of the field. Perhaps there's been a technical issue with the car they've been looking to resolve, but either way, we won't be seeing what is Ganesh out of the circuit until we do go racing at the earliest. And well, as we begin to transition into the second half of qualifying, of course, keep in mind, Laram's out there right now, did start laps before the clock hits 7.5 minutes, and they are committed to finish them, but they must immediately tow to pits as soon as they cross that start-finish line in order not to impede our pros and our primes. But definitely it's been close so far. And well, Glenn Bratton still improving out there as he makes his way on down through turn number 5 in towards 6, and into the double left-hander he goes, and as he rolls his way off the left and into the second left here of Piper, what can he find in terms of time before we start to see the time tower being lit up by the pros and primes? And we suspect they're going to filter their way mostly ahead of the AMs, but then again, I get the feeling we could see a prime or two fit their way in between likes of Bader, Chong, Manning and Lane, and if so, that is going to lead to a rather angsty race between the two classes. Because remember, in this series, drivers only score points based on their finishing position overall, not their class finishing position, albeit the exception being that Glenn Bratton comes into the pits running wide there towards the end. That may have invalidated the lap, so Bratton not too happy with that, but Kevin Manning snatches away pole position in the AM class on a 44.676, leaving it to the last moment. And well, for Manning, I think that is the microphone drop, if you will, the proverbial moment where he's done so, because Bader, Chong and Lane right now not able to match him, and that is how it's done, says Kevin Manning. But as the AM qualifying session comes to its end, we now have our pros and primes going on to their first flying 15 laps, and all deciding to stay in a long train of cars here. And we saw the AM session really split in terms of no drivers really wanting to take the slipstream onto a flying lap, but here in the prime class, you're definitely seeing everyone trying to use the toe, at least for the first half of the lap, to the run to turn number 5. Albeit the side, there's a couple of attempts to be gained, and those attempts could be pivotal in the long haul. But the point we're only making only moments ago with regards to the AM classes, how close it is, and the fact we do see some primes filter their way in amongst that top 4 of the AMs, it could lead to some very close racing because of the fact that drivers only score points based on overall finishing position, the exception being that the podium finishers, the AM and prime classes, they will also receive bonus points for what is first place, second place and third place, 3 for first, 2 for second and 1 for third. But those points are marginal. Meanwhile, the big points are scored for the overall positions all the way up to a total of 50. But as Daniel McConnell comes on down in towards the braking zone here for turn number 5 in the Texas Speed Sim Racing machine, looking absolutely splendorous with its shining American flag on the side, indeed the Texan star, and as he rolls his way through the left-hander and in towards the second one of what is Piper from Revolver. Meanwhile, Jermaine Warren deciding to stay towards the back of this qualifying order in the Prime and Pro session. I think opting just to run for some clear space on circuit. He does have in front of him at a bit of a distance now. I do believe that is Jason Landry as our cameraman pans towards the number 5. And right now, the GT Turtles driver on a Sunday, well, it's a Saturday today, and he's doing anything but being slow, I can tell you that, as he makes his way in towards turn number 7, roaring on through. The first lap times are coming on towards us now, and there is Jaden Callaway tucked in behind Francois Shing, and what is a pro driver also tucked in behind there was David Adeyiyi, and those times all started to come on board, and Adeyiyi setting a 44.202. It's the first of 5 laps in this class. Meanwhile, we've got more laps still coming on in, including John Lauzon there as he crosses the timeline, goes P18 at best so far, at a 49.404, and well, I don't think he's too pleased with that, and I think for what is Lauzon right now setting himself up for the next lap, which is going to go even more aggressively into, and will perhaps just taking an extra warm-up lap there in order to be able to get those tyres right in the zone. But meanwhile, Jason Landry absolutely flying. He crossed the line. It's provisional pole for Jason Landry, a 44.050. And well, I can tell you one thing, that is 1.5 tenths faster than David Adeyi's prime provisional pole time. But still, David Adeyi being P2 right now, that is a statement in itself. And I think we're going to see a 43 here before the day is done. We've got 3 minutes left on the clock, 2 more laps available to all of our pros and primes out there at this time. But who is going to be the one to pull off the biggest surprises? Meanwhile, what are the surprises we don't want to see? I believe there was an incident for Jermaine Warren coming out the final corner where it spun and went to the wall. He's had to be towed to the pits, and that means he's back on an out lap, and he's yet to get a lap on the board. And Warren is at risk here of potentially starting from the back of the grid alongside Roger Ganesh if he cannot get a time in. Logan McKenzie as well, currently out there, no lap so far, and I believe he's on his first flying out in the number 4, the Tide machine here, making its way up through turns 8 and 9. He'll be hoping for something before this is over, which you don't want to be starting from the back of the order, given the fact that everyone's encouraged to fight each other as much as possible. And well, he makes his way into Mike Reed on corner turn at number 10. Coming down through the right-hander he goes, and what he does so, what's he going to be able to find here as he heads towards the timeline we're about to see, and he makes his way on down, and well, as he heads towards the timeline, it's going to be for Logan McKenzie, as we see Shink and Onofre moving up the order. Logan McKenzie takes provisional pole there on what is a 43.984. It's the first 43 of the session. Matthew Best, meanwhile, goes P2, down to P3 now. John Lauzon set at 43.945. The 43.9 is definitely running high, and more laps to come on in. We've still got Landry's response yet to come as he makes his way down through turn at number 11, last corner. And we do apologise for calling turn at number 10 at Mike Reedner corner. That's a good friend of mine in the sim racing world. In fact, it's Mike Knight corner. We won't get that wrong another time. But meanwhile, as Jason Landry heads across the timeline, he comes at P4, and well, he stays there on a 44.141. It's not an improvement that time around, and now he's on to his last flying lap. All of our drivers are indeed, and well, Jermaine Warren crosses the timeline out McConaughey booth window to go on to what his new first flying lap of this session, given the fact he had to tow to the pits at the end of his previous one where it all went wrong. So looking to get a time on the board at Mika Hendricks, meanwhile, P19, and that is not a good place to be. Can Hendricks find a way to improve? Currently 1.1 seconds almost off the provisional pole time set by John Lauzon, and well, it's a contrast to teammates here, and can Lauzon find a way in order to be able to take pole position here today? Indeed, of his first pole position in both the Prime class and overall, and will that be a huge achievement for Lauzon? And Logan McKenzie are looking to try and saddle up alongside him for Pro Pole P2, but ideally ideally he would light the overall pole as the drivers make the way out of what turns 8 to 9. I think they will just squeeze. In fact, some drivers will squeeze in another lap on top of this. So for our pros and primes here, they're going to be getting quite fancy in the fact that we've one more lap available to them as they come on through. Will we see anybody jump up the order this time? Franz Washing still P5 by the looks of things, but David Adeyemi is improving from P8 as they power their way to the line. He improved in the first half of the lap, but not the second half of the lap. Logan McKenzie raises the bar to a 43.919. That's the new overall pole time, still the pro pole, and meanwhile Matthew Best now moves up to what is P2 overall, and that's the prime pole time being raised to a 43.931 as he makes me stumble in my own words. Given how impressive that lap is, it's only 11 thousandths of a McKenzie's pole time, and Best immediately parking up in the gravel there, and well, I think some of his drivers won't be too pleased. He's parked right next to the exit curb, but he'll say he's off the circuit and out of the way, and he's done his best to do so, and he'll be looking to toe to the pits as Jason Landry has also come into the pit lane, so he's decided enough's enough. He can't improve any further, being 1/10 down on what is the pole time of McKenzie, and well, he won't feel too discouraged about that as Jermaine Warren meanwhile making his way on around. And as he does so, he's crossing the timeline. He does put a lap in. It's P20 at best, the 45.142. But we're looking at Edwin Noffre here, as we do see the number 99 driver gradually making his way into Revolver and Piper. And as he comes in towards the double left sequence with David Adeyemi just behind him, going purple in subsector 1. But as our drivers roar and romp their way towards that checker flag of this qualifying session, well, can anybody find a way to throw in McKenzie's 43.919? Could somebody even set a 43.8 right at the close here? Well, Adeyemi feels though he potentially can as he makes his way on around for return at number 9. Car round, however, on the exit of the corner, and that is going to lead to a domino effect, and that was an error from Edwin Noffre, and that has caught Adeyemi out. Also, what was Jaden Callaway out just behind, and well, that's a nightmare moment as meanwhile other drivers making the way through, including Zach Lovelace as he makes his way down into the right-hand return number 10. But I think that's going to absolutely upset the run for a number of drivers. But meanwhile, I'm hearing that Callaway still on a phenomenal lap, but he does not improve after that bump right at the end, cost him all the time in the world. Lovelace enter line. He was purple in subsector 3. Can he find a way to move up from P9 as he cross line? It's P4 for Lovelace, a 44.024, and well, more drivers still coming through. Hendricks cross line goes P13 just ahead of Callaway, so leaving it late in the day to get in amongst the pro and bag, but it's still not the lap he'll have wanted. And well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, as we do see the Marion Mobile, the privateer Kevin Clark making his way through to P10. That is qualifying complete here in the pro and prime class, and Logan McKenzie takes pole position in the pro class and overall his first of the season, if my memory serves me correctly, and Matt Best will take his first prime pole, second place on the front row of the grid. Well, what an end to the qualifying session, and Kevin Manning is back on pole position form in the AM class with a P15 start, and well, if anything, that's only going to serve up to tighten up the field when we do go racing, and we'll be going racing in the next couple of minutes as all the drivers have made their way into the pits, and well, they're just waiting for the transition to what will be the gridding procedure. Now, whilst we are waiting, a little bit of trivia for you. And the fact this circuit was originally opened up by a number of wealthy businessmen from around the world, a good number from the United Kingdom and also Japan, for them to have it as a circuit to play around with their fancy sports cars. But very quickly, the potential of the circuit when it was opened in 1970s was realised in how good it could be for a racing circuit. And that's why we're here racing today. And speaking of which, let's take a look at that grid for our one and only race today. Where it is Logan McKenzie confirmed as your pro and overall pole sitter for AlphaTauri Rich Energy, and he will be ahead of John Lauzon for West Coast Best Coast, who takes prime pole position. We'll then have on row at number 2 Matt Best, the privateer, who in the end demoted to P3 after the lap he set was invalidated. The privateer ahead of Texas Speed Sim Racing Zach Lovelace, who starts P4. It's then the two pros of Jason Landry and Edwin Noffre for Sunday GT Turtles and the privateer on row number 3. Head of Franz Washing for Forever Alone and Daniel McConnell for Texas Speed Sim Racing on row number 4, and then your top 10 is completed by the prime pair of David Adeyemi and Kevin Clark. We'll then have James D. Carr and Mika Hendricks on row at number 6 for AlphaTauri Rich Energy and West Coast Best Coast. But we're going to have to stop the run through there, ladies and gentlemen. They've all been very quick to grid up today. The lights are on, and we'll await the go. And it's lights out and away we go for our race day. Round number 5 gets underway and Logan McKenzie gets a good start off the line. But John Lauzon now trying to catch up as they make the way down, and McKenzie flashing his lights there. I think Noni's on camera as meanwhile Lovelace up the inside of what his teammate Best as they make the way through turn number 1 in towards turn number 2. But all the field coming on through safely so far. As we look a little bit further back then, that's Kevin Clark fending off David Adeyemi as Clark's had a brilliant start to get ahead of Adeyemi into turn 1. And that's where he's going to go now as they make the way in towards the Mosses sequence. And as they head in towards that wood curve, Zach Lovelace still battling here with Best. They head onto the brakes, and Jason Landry looking for a way to get in the mix here. But the Texas Speed Sim Racing drivers both tripping over one another, and oh goodness me, it's gone wrong for Landry, who's turned around there. And I think there was a small tap on the rear of his car from Francois Schink by looks of things, unless I'm mistaken, and that sent Landry round, and that's going to cost him all the places in the world. But meanwhile, as we look to the field, as they make the way down towards the hairpin, minus Landry at this point, McKinsey still ahead, Lauzon behind, and as they all come down hard and fast onto the anchors, we can see up there Kevin Clark on the inside of James Carr, as we might add back side by side with what is, I do believe, in fact, that's with Carr, apologies, and meanwhile it's Clark getting ahead of Onofre there in the battle between the primes and the pros. So far so good for the drivers in terms of no major incidents bar one, but as they make the way through turn number 7 up towards 8, well, right now, and see there a little bit squirrely moment for Kevin Manning, some power oversteer on the exit of Piper as he heads in towards turn number 8. He's got Nick Bader going around the outside, cutting to the inside to make sure Manning can't lunge under braking, and Manning eager to do so for Votan Klein, but in the end it's going to be Bader who takes the lead of the AM cars, and well, it's now going to be a rematch. Oh goodness me, as James Carr's gone around as everyone tries to negotiate, the smoke kicking up, and well, I think there might be a bit of an incident between what was Carr and Clark coming on through turn number 9, but they've been able to survive it for the most part as all the field makes its way down in towards the last corner and onwards towards turn number 1 they go. But after one lap of racing, it is Logan McKinsey who leads ahead of Lauzon, followed by Best, then Lovelace and Schink. That's your top 5. McConnell P6, ahead of Onofre P7. And then we've got Addy P8, Hendricks P9, Clark P10, Callaway Bester as P11. And, well, Manning and Bader swap places again after the altercation coming out of turn number 9. And Kevin Manning P13 right now is your AM leader as they go on to lap number 2 of this 30-minute race. But as they roar their way on through at the left-hand of turn number 2 and onwards they go towards Aqua Curve. Well, now it's going to be about settling down into line of stern sequence. We're hearing there's been an incident with the train Warren at Williams corner at 2, and that's putting down a P23. Aided or not, we're not quite sure. But meanwhile, I can tell you one thing, Billman Acosta right now will be looking to find some aids in order to be able to get past Roger Ganesh, who's digging in deep. And outward, and Acosta trying to cut back and get the better run off the corner, but both drivers getting a good launch, and as they make the run to the back straight, Acosta right now will know that the slipstream is going to be substantially mitigated by the fact that Ganesh has got Bratton in front. Nobody really able to make a change here as they head down to the braking zone. Meanwhile, Tim Chong, with the slipstream Sloth's driver right now battling side by side there with what is Kirk Lane in the battle for P3 in the AM class, and Chong looking for his first podium in some time, but Lane coming back him here into Revolver. Meanwhile, in front, that's a spin from what is David Turn. The prime driver goes around there off of the exit curve of what was turn number 6, and we'll drop all the way down the order as they make their way in towards turns 8 to 9. And this Okayama circuit taking no prisoners when it comes to those curves and the exits, and the driver's having to get the throttle down. And as we said earlier, these may only be 212 horsepower Japanese machines, but what they lack in power they make up for in terms of being very lightweight over that rear end, and it's very easy to send the car around. But as Chong makes his way in towards turn number 10, right now falling back off a lane and having to settle back into the battle. Well, as we look from there back up towards the front of the field, going on to another lap, it's Lauzon who still leads the Brown class, but he's got Best closing as we look back from the rear of the West Coast, Best Coast 177, and where you can see Best now that he's settled his differences with Lovelace. The two Texas Speed Sim Racing drivers no longer going at each other and giving each other the opportunity to work together, and will Best at this point and now is trying to settle in and trying to go hunting for what would be the first win of his season as he makes his way through the Moss S. But as they head in towards the braking zone, here in the backfire there from the 86 of Lauzon, absolutely lovely, and as he roars his way out to the right-hander right now, Lovelace and Best getting closer and closer in the tow, and with McKinsey open up a 7/10 of a second gap, he will be closed gradually in terms of slipstream that's afforded to Lauzon, but Lauzon won't be gaining as much speed this time, and that's going to leave him a little bit more vulnerable to a potential look under braking, which Best does immediately, thinking, is there enough space to try and go for it? Am I close enough? And that's very close in terms of touching the rear of the 177, doesn't quite do so, but goodness me, Best shiny, he's not afraid to get nice and close if needed, and well, that could be a sign to Lauzon, which is get ready, it's coming in terms of move on the inside. But as they come out of the corner, run wide from McKinsey, and that's going to lose him all the momentum, coming out of Piper and up towards 80 goes, but into left-hander, and we'll stay ahead at 4 now as meanwhile a bit further back, Mika Hendricks trying to look for a move here versus Adeyeye into turn number 8 on the inside, and he tries to, but has to lock up the front left brake there. You could see the brake smoke in terms of the fact he expected Adeyeye to leave the door open with a lunge, but Adeyeye shutting the door firmly in his face, and Hendricks having to go for a risk versus reward, but in the end deciding the risk was not worth the rewards, and going down into turn number 10, coming back into the hunting as they make their way in towards the right-hander. But as they do, roaring the way through at last corner and on towards the start-finish straight, we jump aboard here with Hendricks, the West Coast Best Coast driver, still trying to find his way up into the P8, knowing that Onofre is only a further 5 attempts up the road. Fastest lap race going to Zachary Lovelace on a 43.618, and the pace right now is absolutely escalating around here. They were qualifying in what was the low 43.9s at best, and right now in the race they're delivering the mid 43s as a whole. Well, that goes to show you just how the pace of the circuit is coming alive as track temperature continues to rise. Indeed, all the drivers right now absolutely going all in, as Hendricks here looking to be close in towards Atwood Curve, but can he see it this time? Can he look for the move on the inside? No, he decides not to. Instead opts to stay behind second gear as he powers out. And as he does so, gets the better run to the inside. It's a drag race now, and the problem is with this long back stretch, where you can see that Onofre giving the toe to Adeyeye and trying to get the two drivers to fight one another rather than go hunting after him as they make the way down towards the braking zone. But as they do in towards hairpin, you can see it Lauzon coming off the inside slightly this time as he makes his way through turn number 5 in towards 6. I think worried more and more about the risk behind of Best now, but also putting McKinsey under a degree of pressure here as they head in towards turn 6 and 7. So it is a bit of a double-edged sword here in terms of what Lauzon's trying to do, as McKinsey runs wide again, and McKinsey struggling through the left-hander. But as they make the way in towards the braking zone for turn number 8, if he keeps running wide and does that every lap, he will gradually build up enough instant points to see him have to take a drive-through penalty. So McKinsey's going to have to be careful, as meanwhile, speaking of a driver who's not being careful anymore, that is Hendricks taking P8 of Adeyeye through turn number 8 in towards 9. Meanwhile, side by side behind, that's Callaway versus Clark, and Jaden Callaway for IDD West getting back ahead of the prime driver of Clark as they head in towards turn number 10. Through Might Night corner they go, and down towards the last corner they go into 11, and now Callaway have an opportunity to be unleashed onto his fellow privateer and what could be the ITD West teammate of what is Adeyeye as they head on towards turn number 1. And goodness me, to think only 7 minutes of the racing of bars. It's been absolutely fast and frantic so far here at the Okayama International Racing Circuit. We've still got plenty more to come, including what is your AM leader here, Kevin Manning. Can he stay ahead of what is Nick Bader for the Longhorns? Meanwhile, Clark's gone wide at turn 1. Into Williams they go at 2, and Jones gets ahead. And we're speaking of Nick Bader just behind, still looking to stay in the hunt, still a sniff of what is the AM leader's tyres. They made the way through Mosses, and right now these drivers are all keeping their heads down and focusing on what the later stages of this race will bring, particularly when tyre wear becomes a bigger and bigger concern. But meanwhile, side by side into Mosses and go Carl Peterson and Jason Landry. Landry getting ahead on a recovery drive right now after that open lap incident at Atwood Curve, where he was sent around and towards the inside as he makes his way in to aforementioned corner this time. Landry having no qualms this time around. His next target will be Nick Yakubov, and you can see the speed difference there in terms of lines of drives as Landry right now right in the tyre as he gets on the run down towards turn number 5. And as he does so here, I think Yakubov will know what's potentially coming. I don't think he'll fight it too hard, as it will cost him a lot of time in the hunt after what will be Billman DaCosta. As here comes Landry looking for the move, and it's going to be a textbook move under braking into hairpin, and does exactly that. Nails his apex and presses on. But meanwhile, we can't look too far down the order. We've got to look back up as Zach Lovelace battling here with Francois Schinck for P4, or what is P2 in the Pro class. It's not worth any extra points on the Pro podium compared to the Prime and AM podiums, but still there's a lot of pride on the line here as the drivers make the way in towards White Knight Corner. And the problem here is in the fact they are costing each other so much time right now as they make the way on through turn number 11 on towards the start finish straight they go. Well, Francois Schinck staying close, but the problem is in the fact that he makes his way down towards turn number 1. The fight from Lovelace means that Best now is 2 seconds up the road, and the top 3 is run away, but Schinck on the inside is going to be late on the brakes into the first corner. Well, there's going to be a bit of a rub between the two of them as they come together now to Williams. Schinck on the outside, he's got the wider line, but look at this from Lovelace coming back immediately, not giving in, and we're behind him. McConnell's going to watch this and think, okay, how can I get involved? Once they make the way into the Mosses, it's still side by side. Schinck giving plenty of room for the Forever Alone 18 as they come on through the right hand kick, and now getting ahead there. It was a runner circumference, and well, for Schinck, it was the right place to position himself. The shorter run to Atwood Curve, doing him best. But the problem is now as they make the way onto the back straight, is he's going to have the speed, but Lovelace is going to have something else. He's going to have the toe as they head down the back straight. Schinck defending to the inside immediately, giving barely any room. Well, Lovelace might consider going for it here. If so, it's going to be very risky. No, he decides to go for the safer option, which is around the outside, and that's exactly what Schinck will have wanted by positioning himself where he did. He's going to have the inside, but remember, the camber of the hairpin means you can go on the outside, and if you nail it, you can stay with your rival all the way through. But unfortunately, Lovelace not quite able to carry all the speed around, and has to tuck back in as they make the way through Revolver, through Piper, and on to the next run up towards turns 8 to 9. But brilliant racing between these guys. But you can see there how the top 3 are now 4 seconds clear and continue to sail away. They'll get into their own fight eventually, but I would imagine McKinsey, Lauzon and Betts right now are all mutually agreeing it's better to work together and save the fight into the very end for the podium positions. as they make their way out to turn number 9 in towards turn number 10. Meanwhile, we do look a little bit further down the order to Kevin Manning, who finds himself right at the back of this long pack of cars now. It's concluded by Nick Bader. Indeed, this is the run from P4 through to P14. 11 drivers separated by a margin of what is 6 seconds in total. And well, that carries on from the theme of Jason Landry in the YouTube chat, saying the top 17 in qualifying all within a second. Super competitive tonight, and indeed the competition could not be closer as they roar their way over towards turn number 1. And once they head into what for them it's now lap number 7. Manning close behind what is Clark in front of him, and Clark right now I would imagine is getting a bit too close to comfort to the rear of his rival in front in the form of what is Julian Jones. That gap is 3 tenths. A number of drivers starting to run wide as well. Little mistakes creeping in, and that tyre degradation starting to pick up more and more as they make their way onwards towards Atwood Curve. But as they do so, well, it's going to be Clark right now just settles down, see if he can find a way into the fight as they make their way onto the back straight. Speaking of that back straight, your top 3, well, McKinsey here having to go defensive at AlphaTauri Rich Energy as he heads down towards turn number 5 and being extremely defensive. In fact, I think he's worried that Lauzon has got a pace advantage, and Lauzon's going to go for it around the outside of turn number 5, but he's not going to find it. In fact, he goes very deep, and that's going to bring Best into the fight for the lead of the Prime class as they head down through Revolver. But as they come out of 6, McKinsey again running wide, and those off tracks are going to keep building up as he makes his way out of turn number 7. Another slight run wide, but I think he'll get away with that one just about as they make their way underneath our camera gantry board. Well, they head in towards turn at number 8. Meanwhile, Francois Schink leading the second pack of cars and still at the head of this long line of GR86s, all waiting for an opportunity to pass Schink. But right now, Schink proving to be absolutely obstinate as he comes out of turn number 9 and onwards towards turn at number 10, but in towards Mike Knight corner he goes, and down for the right-hander. And right now, the forever alone driver, he's definitely in good company. He's not alone out there, but he would love to be alone, or having the opportunity at least to go hunting after what would be the race leaders. And speaking of your leaders, as they make the way down, serpentining behind the toe, McKinsey, Lauzon and Best going toe-to-toe here as they head into turn number 1. And well, Best is right there with his rival once again, but he can't find a way into the fight so far. And in fact, an error there at turn number 1 puts Best a long way back, and when we say a long way, that's 6 tenths lost in the space of one braking error into turn number 1, and that's cost Best very dear indeed, as now he's got to try and work his way back into that fight. He won't be worried about Schink getting close, given the fact the gap to Schink is still 2.1 seconds, and the toe between these cars is normally only felt about 1.8 seconds and gradually closing. It's a second away is where you start to get a sizable slipstream effect. But meanwhile, looking in the AM class here, let's not forget about our third class. Well, Kirk Lane right now battling with Tim Chong, still for P3 in the AM class. They make the way for the Moss S in towards Atwood Curve, and through the right-hander they go, and Lane right now all over the back of Chong like a bad rash, and he stays right within the toe as they make the way, getting very close there on the run onto the back straight. Perhaps catching his rival too early in terms of gaining the overspeed. I think he's going to feel confident he can go for this move, but Chong's going to defend to the inside here for the third spot of the AM podium. They've got a good gap over Landry, he's found his way into P17 recently, but here goes Lane, looking down the outside, he's got a nose ahead, he's going to try and go all the way round. This is a brave move from Lane, he may be able to pull this off. Heading into Revolver, too wide they go, and Lane gets here, but Chong cuts it back as Lane goes deep. There's contact between the two of them, but they survive it, and as they make the way into Piper Corner, they're still side by side. Fantastic racing, it's not dulled them a week's break, and as they head in towards turn number 8, well, Lane's going to be on the outside, he's got a nose ahead, but Chong's on the inside, not willing to back out. Remember, it's a left into a right switch back uphill here, so right now Lane's got the better position arguably. If they're going to go too wide all the way round, he does exactly that as he takes third place in the AM class off of Tim Chong. But goodness me, what a fight between the two of them, and indeed you couldn't have had it closer and finer than that as they make the way through Mike Knight and down into last corner. But I don't think it's over yet, as Chong right now, we ride on board and look down over the front end of his car as he makes his way on towards turn number 1. We're almost at the halfway point of this race, and can Chong find a way back for slipstream slots, or is he going to think elsewhere for now as he chases after the Team Bear Boat machine, and in fact decides to back off and put the pressure on Lane by just simply staying in the toe and running close as they make the way through turns 1 and 2. As they do so, meanwhile, we look inside what is your top 10, and already it's now started to turn into bedlam as David Ade fighting with what is Jaden Callaway behind and Daniel McConnell in front. Edwin Offering in P7 trying to break away from these guys, as meanwhile Julian Jones and Kevin Clark getting very close and very testy against one another in turn at the back of the pack, with what is Kevin Manning, your AM leader, having to watch all this play out in front. He's gradually pulling away from what is Nick Bader, as you point out. Bader is now 3 seconds behind. You can see in the rear of the picture, and then you have a further what is 5.5 second gap to Lane, but as they all break their way down into hairpin. Well, right now Clark staying close, looking for an opportunity to go on the offensive, but he can't quite find it. Instead, having to stay behind now as he rolls on through the left hand of turn what is number 6 into 7, and with this double left sequence always catching drivers out. We've seen many a driver run wide, but more than they're just about staying on with the right side of the curvature of the corner as they make the way on towards turn number 8. But meanwhile in front, Mika Hendricks side by side here with Francois Sheik trying to make a move. It's the West Coast Best Coast driver versus the Forever Alone machine as they head in towards Might Night corner into 10 and down through the right hand, but on the inside Sheik's going to have the advantage track position, but Hendricks says I don't mind that, I just want to try and make your way past. And as he makes his way around the outside, brilliant side by side racing, and Sheik giving plenty of space there to Hendricks, knowing that he's got to, given how much overlap there is. And Hendricks right now showing you can go around the outside of these corners just about as you can on the inside to make moves happen, but Sheik also trying to prove that the inside is the better line. But Hendricks says no, it's not. Around the outside of first corner he goes, and Mika Hendricks is into P5, and after what's a difficult qualifying session for the 82 driver, right now he's absolutely picking up the pieces in the Lego machine, if you don't mind the pun, as I head in towards Mosses and upwards towards Atwood Curve. And as he does so here, well, right now Sheik will be looking to try and come back, but I wonder if they might mutually agree for a brief moment to stop fighting each other, just for the simple reason that Lovelace is only 1 second up the road, and he could be for the taking if they can get close enough. Then again, that's not to dispel the speed of the Texas Sim Racing driver, but it is the fact right now no time fronts him. With the fact the top three have run away to 4 seconds clear, it does mean that all he's got to do is try and gain under his own impetus, and that's what will leave him vulnerable to being caught up by the pack behind. But as I head in towards turn at number 5 once more, meanwhile onto the brakes, all the drivers go. We look to Julian Jones here from ITD West as he breaks his way on through it, and Clark's still staying with him, and then back to the battle for P3 in the AM class here, or P15, between what is Kirk Lane and Tim Chong. Chong looking to the inside, hasn't got quite the overspeed to be able to go for the lunge, and instead has to back off, and the Bear Poke Zero driver still staying ahead for now, feeling confident in what he can do in the 281 machine, and well, understandably so, in the fact that Chong just not able to get involved here at this time. But meanwhile, some further battling going on here as we have Carl Peterson for Caboose Crew battling with Slipstream Slots and Nick Yakubov as they're fighting for P8 in the AM class, P23, and well, side by side they come out the hairpin, side by side they go into Revolver, and well, it's still going to be side by side into Piper as Yakubov does not give in here. Peterson has got the momentum, and he's got the faster pace on average lap pace, but right now it's going to be Yakubov who's showing I've got the defensive ability to keep you behind as he holds the inside in towards turn number 8, and meanwhile Carr in front's gone around. That's James Carr who's had a spin coming out of turn at number 8 into 9, and Carl Peterson backing off there due to yellow flags, and that gives Yakubov the opportunity to cement the position. As they head in towards turn number 10 from our drivers battling here, we do look to it's Mika Hendricks who runs wide there out of turn number 2 through Williams. He goes into Mosses. That's going to carry him a little bit of cost him a little bit of momentum as they head in towards Atwood Curve, and Sheik thinking about the move but not close enough to do so. Meanwhile, Adi still all over the back of Daniel McConnell as they come through turn number 4, and right now as Adi leaning on the car, you can see just how much body roll is being pitched into the left hand side of the car, giving the run through the right hander. And as they make the way down the back straight right now, it is neck and neck practically in terms of the speed between all these drivers. But Adi thinks as though he's got the overspeed here to take a peek to the inside of hairpin, and will move McConnell defend it around the outside. Well, here we go as Adi late on the brakes. And then McConnell not quite able to stay with his rival, albeit does he get the door shut Adi in time. Well, McConnell's there on the inside, but Adi gets it done and takes P8 there in a classic move as they make the way on through into the second half of the lap. Well, time is gradually now starting to wear out. They are in the second half of this race, still do have 11 minutes plus the final lap to go. Brilliant race action so far. Okayama, still plenty more to come. And meanwhile, as we look back to the car, Kevin Clark and the 189 Mario Mobile, the privateer. Well, right now he'll be looking at to try and find a way up and past Julian Jones in the fight for P4 in the Prime class and P11 overall, with the AM leader Kevin Manning just watching behind and knowing that by staying at the back of this pack, so long as they don't fight too hard, he will stay clear of Nick Bader, who has fallen to 4 seconds behind him as they head into the next lap. As they do, meanwhile David Turn trying to recover his way through the field as a Slipstream Slots driver in the 135. It was definitely been a nightmare race today, and a bit of run wide there from Billman DaCosta. That's going to give Turn all the opportunity he needs to get ahead into Might Night corner. Up to P20 goes. Next target is Glenn Bratton, the P6 AM driver for P19 overall, and Turn will look to encroach upon him as soon as possible, and more points to come the way of Turn if he carries up this momentum as they head down towards turn at number 1. But as they power their way up through the gearboxes, well, right now the battles in the M class started to calm down to a brief degree, and indeed I think more and more of the battle is going to come at the front of the field, as we do see with Logan McKenzie's been able to open that lead gap back up to what is now half a second over John Lowes on an average. But keep in mind they are in the long back straight at the moment, so that gap will start to come down. But meanwhile, on the rear of your picture, well, that is, I believe, David Adeyi going very defensive on the inside run down towards turn number 5, and in fact there now brings himself across Daniel McConnell with him. But I think McConnell here trying to send a signal. Meanwhile, the signal from behind, that's Jaden Callum Callaway, who looks up the inside, and what a lunge from Callaway to go for the move there. And well, that's going to put McConnell on the defensive now, going through Piper into Revolver. In fact, Revolver into Piper as his lunge makes me completely muddle up my corners here. Such how impressive it was from the 73 drive from Texas Speed Sim Racing. In the end, Jaden Callaway has made it happen, and well, he moves up a position, does Callaway, in towards P9 overall, and what is P6 in the pro class. But now can McConnell find a way back? That will be the target he'll go for as they make their way through the right-hander turn number 9 up towards 10, and will no way back at the moment for McConnell. He's got Julian Jones now looking for an opportunity, and the Brown Drive will be taking some inspiration from Callaway, you can bet that, as they make their way in towards the final corner. As they come out to turn at number 11, Will Jones staying very close as they power their way down the start-finish straight. Here's 2 temps and closing little by little as we ride on board with the 133 drive from ITD West. Now, when he looked for it into turn number 1, he's thinking about it here, but staying off race in line. That's going to cost him some speed going in towards Williams' corner. I wonder whether Jones was trying to feint out what was McConnell and get him to think that it was a Callaway-style move coming from that far back, but indeed it was not called. Indeed, the bluff was not called out by McConnell, and instead Jones right now just simply staying behind as they make their way up towards turn number 4, putting the wipers on there, trying to get some debris off of the windshield. Will be no rain expected at the moment, albeit rain will be coming to the toe to GR86s come the end of the current iRacing official season, and we do believe that is going to mean that there could be rain available for our season finale, but more on that when we get to it, ladies and gentlemen. That could definitely mix things up in our 8th round of the season. And as they power their way down the back straight right now, Jones, after running offline in the opening couple of corners, not really gaining or losing now, and with Clark behind, he knows he can't afford to run too often offline, because otherwise he could be vulnerable. But meanwhile, we look here towards the battle for P3 in the AM class, and well, Kirk Lane has been passed by Tim Chong off camera, and Jason Landry now trying to get involved to make his way through, with Chong defending on the inside, Lane around the outside, and Landry's got to pick which of the 2 AMs to hedge his bets behind here as they head in towards Revolver, and Landry right now around the outside of the lane. This is going to be very brave from the Canadian driver. He used a bit of run off there in order to be able to carry the momentum, and we'll get away with it for now as they power the way on towards the next stretch. But Lane there backing off the sign to tuck in, knowing that Landry is not the driver he needs to fight. He needs to be fighting Chong, and the only way to get close to Chong is to use Landry as a battering ram, a proverbial one, in order to be able to get back into that P3 and fight. As they make their way at 9 in towards 10. Meanwhile, we look to where's the battle for the prime lead. This is Lauzon versus Best as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the 177. This is the battle for P2 overall as well. So huge points on the line today for whoever takes P2 overall out of these 2 brands, because with it will be the win. And I do believe, unless my mathematics is mistaken, it will be 51 points up for grabs for what will be a 2nd place overall, 48 points, and then 3 for the win in class. And both of these drivers right now would love to have a huge points injection of that scale, and will Best definitely the one to hound and hassle Lauzon. But Lauzon showing what makes him one of the senior statesmen of the middle of the pack Racing League grid, and indeed the Alpha Touring Challenge Series, the touring car series that runs in parallel as part of a sister community, and that is he is one of the best when it comes to defending. As they make their way down towards turn number 5 and onto the brakes they go, and Best right now having to find his way up past the immovable object that is John Lauzon. As they head in towards turn number 6. From them, we look to the left-hander, which has been contested by Francois Schinck and Zach Lovelace, as Lovelace looking to try and hold off Schinck. Schinck getting very, very feisty and testy here indeed, in trying to battle his way into P3 in the pro class, and what is P5 overall as they make the way in towards turns 8 and 9, and the Forever Alone drive, after being passed by Hendricks, also losing the place to Lovelace, will now, I think, Fitness owns an opportunity to come back as they head in towards turn number 9. In fact, as they make their way out to the right-hander and in towards turn number 10, these 3 drives separated by only a second, if that. Indeed, coming down to 8 tenths at the moment. Well, they do have a 1 second gap to Edwin Offer, who started to fall slightly off the pace, and I do wonder whether tyre wear is now starting to become a little bit of a mistress in this race, in terms of the fact it really is now starting to bite into the pace of what our drivers have available to them in the closing stages, and those who have been able to protect the tyres earlier on in the race may start to have just a slight edge in what will be these final 5 minutes. We do know the tyres on these GR86s can be worn down quite aggressively, given the fact that they're not running traction control, and well, that may just be the delta, particularly on those rear tyres, as we did see Francois Schinck making his way on through turn number 2. But he does so, and up towards 4 he goes. Right now, so close Lovelace, he can reach out and touch the rear wing of his rival, but he won't do so, as he'll need to keep 2 hands on the wheel for Atwood corner as they come on through the right. No way through at the moment, still staying there as they come out and up towards what will be the back straight. But now can he find a move here as we ride on board with the 18 driver? Overspeed starting to build, leaving it as late as possible to upshift to 4th gear. He knows he needs every little bit of engine power he can in order for the move. On the inside he goes then. It's going to battle on the brakes here, giving it everything he's got. Side by side they go, and as they do through turn number 5 on towards 6, and Lovelace back on the inside now, but not quite close enough. In fact, tucks in behind, and Francois Sheen takes P5 over Zach Lovelace, and now can go hunting after Mika Hendricks to try and take back P4 once more. But will he be given an opportunity? Will Lovelace back out of this? You can see Sheen having to go defensive in the middle road. Lovelace forcing him to think about it and trying to get him offline. And well, in the end, I think Lovelace also noticing the fact that right now he can put some mental pressure on, but nothing more than that, because he won't fall back into the clutch as Edwin Offred, who is closing up slightly, given the battling these two have been through over the last few corners. As they come down from Mike Knight corner, 4 minutes left on the clock. The race is gradually coming towards its end, and as it does so, we look back to the Kavitsky driver, Carl Peterson, who right now fighting for the last of the running positions, P22, P23 between himself and Yakubov holding the defensive posture into Wes turn number 6 there in the fight for P8. A great little battle between these two. It may not be huge points they're fighting for, but they're fighting for every point, and that's what it's all about as they make their way down towards turn number 9. More before so, they'll have to get to the breakers over turn number 8, and onto the brakes they go, and Peterson looking menacing, but where can he find a move versus Yakubov, who's proven that he can keep Peterson behind him previously. We'll have to wait and see that battle as they make the way onwards towards the next lap. Meanwhile, speaking of that next lap, they're already on to lap number 16, and it's Logan McKenzie, who this time a bit of a slower run out of Atwood curve, and he's going to have John Lauzon immediately into his 2.5 tenths behind as they get onto the back straight. And McKenzie showing that he's concerned. As soon as he gets below 3 tenths on the exit of Atwood, you can understand why McKenzie going so tight to inside line to essentially make sure Lauzon cannot get inside under braking. And well, it's a bit of a rub between the two of them, and I think the elbows coming out there is going to mean that Best is now going to look to the outside of Lauzon into Revolver, but as they come down through a left-hander in towards turn number 7. No way through, and through left they go in towards what with up towards 8 and 9, and now all of the drivers, they've got any off tracks left, they might be starting to use 1 or 2 of them in order to be able to gain a little bit of tactical advantage, or as they like to refer to it, as a tactical off track. We can get away with it so many times, but not too many times, given the fact we have an instant point limit. And as they make the way out of turn number 8 in towards 9 and onwards towards 10, well, Best right now having a look, couldn't quite find it, and tucks back in behind Lauzon. I think you'll recognise soon that laps are running out, and indeed they will make their way now onto the penultimate lap of racing here at Okayama today, and there'll be one more lap after this one as they go on to lap number 17. McKenzie serpentining all the way down the start finish straight, trying to break the toe as much as he can. He's worried about the fact that if Lauzon gets close, he'll be able to look for a move, and he doesn't want that. And meanwhile, further back, we can see Clark versus Jones as they continue to chase P4 in the prime class. Clark looking for an opportunity, but can he find it? Not at the moment. But meanwhile, speaking of opportunities, we do look back to the battle here between Peterson and Yakubov for P8 in the AM class, or P22 overall. And well, Yakubov having to go defensive side by side. They went through what was Revolver into Piper, and right now Peterson back behind again. But these two having a brilliant battle between them, one of the battles of the day, no doubt about it. And from them, we look to Billman DaCosta and Roger Ganesh as they go chasing after. In fact, that's Glenn Bratton up behind Billman DaCosta. We should correct ourselves. And this is the battle for P6 in the AM class. It's going to be Bratton on the inside. DaCosta goes a bit deep under braking, and that's going to give Bratton all the room he needs to take that position for P20 overall. A nice smooth move there from Bratton, and DaCosta looks to try and come back in these last couple of laps. But as they make the way through the Moss S, nose to tail they run. Meanwhile, heading out towards turn number 4, and we look back to your leaders here, and McKenzie right now still holding on just about as they come out to left-hander and up towards turn number 9 they go, albeit via 8 first, and as they head onto the brakes, Lauzon and Beds, well, they're 4 tenths apart from each other and from McKenzie, so it looks like the gaps are staying stationary. It's going to come down to a mistake now. I think they'll trigger off the battle, as meanwhile, Lovelace here still close in the hunt behind Francois Sheen, but can't seem to find a way to make anything happen at this time. And well, I think all these drivers now running out of momentum. Indeed, the cars are very light on fuel, but the problem is they've now not got the tyre life, and everyone could be hanging on by a thread here in terms of just how much they can push the car. And I don't think anybody wants to make a mistake right to the end, but they all want more places as final lap gets underway, and McKenzie leads onto what is our 18th and final turn of the circuit, and the AlphaTauri Rich Energy driver on the course to potentially bring home his first win of the season as he makes his way in towards turn number 2. But can he do so, knowing that the Pro-Am pair of Lauzon and Best are right behind behind. Well, you would argue that McKinsey right now feels as though the confidence is there as they head into the Moss S and out of it, in the fact that he's got a nice gap. 6 tenths is the gap as he heads into outward curve, and if he can maintain it like that on the corner exit here, he may just be safe enough to be able to run on the natural racing line down towards the hairpin. But will he do so? Will he want to break the toe? Let's see as he powers his way on down. We look to the blimp camera and you can see the gaps there between your top 7 as they make the way on down. And right now McKinsey feeling safe, doing a bit of a bob and weave there just to break a little bit of the distance toe. And right now Best and Lauzon getting closer and closer as they head down to the braking zone. You can see Lauzon there having to brake as late as possible, make sure Best doesn't get an opportunity. And as they head in towards turn number 6, through Revolver they go. McKinsey right now doing everything in his power to hold on. Meanwhile, Jones and Clark, I believe, are batting further down there, and Jones has held off Clark into what was the hairpin for P11 or P4 in the prime class. But here McKinsey makes his way in towards turn 8, a run wide there for Edwin Offer in the rear of the picture. As meanwhile, we look briefly back to Lane versus Sean Lane, trying to go around the outside here in towards the hairpin, and he's going to have the inside in towards what will be turn number 6 through Revolver, and Lane I think will take P3 in the AM class, but not without running wide. And Chong's going to come back at him into Piper, and as they make their way side by side out, it will be in the form of Chong. But meanwhile, as he comes out the final corner, his first win of the season has escaped him, but not today, as Logan McKinsey charges to the line, and he will take the win overall in the pro class for AlphaTauri Rich Energy, ahead of your prime winner John Lauzon, who returns to his best, just ahead of Matt Best P3, Mika Hendricks takes P4, Francois Schenk P5, ahead of Zach Lovelace and Edwin Offray. Final spot of the prime podium goes to David Addy, P8, ahead of Jaden Callaway and Daniel McConnell. Julian Jones, Kevin Clark complete your top 12, and then Kevin Manning will take the AM win, and the Votan clan driver could not be happy with that result, with Nick Bader P2 in the AM class, P14, and will a further 8 seconds behind, 2 seconds to Jason Andrew, recovered well to P15 in the end, ahead of Kirk Lane, who takes the final podium spot in the AM class, ahead of Tim Chong in a brilliant battle between the two of them. And then it was David Turn P18 ahead of Roger Ganesh, with Glenn Bratton P20. Billman DaCosta comes to the line, having just fallen short of battling back against Bratton. And then the fight between Nick Yakubov and Carl Peterson, the battle that's had everyone in their heels all day. It is going to be the Slipstream Sloth driver who holds off Peterson to the line for 22nd, ahead of Peterson, who takes the 23rd and final spot in the finishing order. And well, what a battle for P8 in the AM class between them. And we did have the 2 retirees of James Carr and Jermaine Warren, P24, P25. But as all drives cool on down, what a day today from Logan McKinsey, the AlphaTauri Rich Energy driver, after putting in that absolutely stellar pole position lap. Well, since then, he's not looked back, and he's shown it in the fact that the number 4 driver definitely getting the second half of his championship campaign off to a stellar start. And John Lauzon, a 1-point lead in the race, but in the end deciding to focus more on holding on to P2 overall and making sure he took the prime win. And indeed, we saw a dip in form midway through what was the Classic Cup, but now the West Coast Best Coast driver is back to his all-firing Canadian best, and the 177 driver just needing to keep Matt Best behind him all the way today, and that's exactly what he did. But still, a brilliant race from Matt Best, taking the 3rd spot on the overall podium, his first overall podium of the season, the prior tier from Texas Speed Sim Racing. And well, as he parks up on the start-finish straight, I get the feeling that'll be a tow to the pits as all the drivers make the way on in. And will Kevin Manning, your AM winner, knowing in the end it was going to take some work to get past Nick Bader, but after doing so and staying with the top 10 pack, he never let go. As we can see some donuts there on the start-finish straight being delivered up by Logan McKinsey. Well, he's over the moon. You can absolutely be sure he's proud of this one. And as he celebrates in front of the virtual spectators, well, right now the American driver bringing it on home. And well, let's bring this broadcast on home by taking you through those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here they are. So after what was a brilliant 30 minutes of racing here at the Okayama International Circuit, recently refurbished on iRacing, in round number 5 of the Middle of the Pack Racing League Winter GR86 Championship for 2024, Logan McKinsey, your winner for AlphaTauri Rich Energy by 6 tenths over John Lauzon, your runner-up, but despite being a runner-up, also your pro and winner for West Coast Best Coast. It was a further 2 tenths to 3rd place finisher Matt Best, your runner-up in the prime class, the privateer, with Best taking his best result of the season, the same for McKinsey, and Lauzon also his best result of the season. So a great day today for our podium finishers overall, with Mika Hendricks P4 for West Coast Best Coast, and Forever Alone's Francois Schenk just behind P5. Zach Lovelace in the end, fighting hard to a P6 finish for Texas Speed Sim Racing. Known perhaps there was a little bit more on the cards to take a top 5 today, but it wasn't to be. But will you please, he held off Edwin Offred to line with the privateer P7 in another solid drive, ahead of David Adeyi P8, and your third place finisher in the Prime class, spending more time than him battling with the pros, rather than having the chance to chase down the top 2 Primes. But still, he'll take a huge number of points into the next round, as will Jaden Calloway, the ITD West driver, and Daniel McConnell for Texas Speed Sim Racing, who, having started P8, losing a couple of places in the early stages and wasn't quite able to recover. Julian Jones, P11 net, best of the rest, ITD West ahead of the privateer of Kevin Clark, with your AM winner of Kevin Manning taking P13 for Photan Clan. And what a drive from him today after he cleared Nick Bader, who finished second place in the AM class, and P14 behind Manning the privateer, and Jason Landry recovering well to P15 after that opening lap spin. Behind the Sunday GT Turtles driver, it was Kirk Lang, your third place and finisher for Bearpoke Zero. He'll held off Slipstream Sloth's Tim Chong to the line, and then to complete the top 20, it was the trio of David Turn for Slipstream Sloths ahead of Roger Ganesh for Sunday GT Turtles, and Glenn Bratton at P20 the privateer. Glenn Bratton holding off Billman DaCosta, who took P21 in the end for what was Team Bearpoke. And in the battle for P22 is Nick Yakubov, who came out on top for Slipstream Sloths, head of Caboose Crews at Carl Peterson. We also had 2 retirees in the race who will be classified as non-finishers, as they did not finish the race within 5 laps of the race winner, and that was James D. Carl, the pro driver Alpha Twin Rich Energy, who retired 7 laps in the end, and Jermaine Warren, who had to retire in the privateer machine 15 laps in the end due to technical issues with the car. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's come on to individual class finishing positions, as these do bear relevance across the Prime and the AM class in particular. As we can see in the Pro class, Logan McKenzie, your winner for Alpha Twin Rich Energy by 1.7 seconds over West Coast, Best Coast, Mika Hendricks, and Francois Schink completing the top 3 there for Forever Alone. From them, Zach Lovelace and Edwin Offred round off the top 5 for Texas Speed Sim Racing in the privateer outfit, with ITD West, Jalen Calloway P6 and a Daniel McConnell for Texas Speed Sim Racing, and Jason Landry a further 14 seconds behind. But 9 today did not go his way, and oh, where could he have been if he'd been in that fight all the way to the end? That's always a big what-if question, but it wasn't to be for the Sunday GT Turtles driver. And we can see P9 there, but classified as a non-finisher, Alpha Twin Rich Energy's James D. Carr for retiring 7 laps in the end. We'll then come on to the Prime class, and the 3 bonus points for the win will go to John Lauzon for the West Coast Best Coast driver, and he'll have taken those over what is second place driver Matt Best by 2 attempts, and then behind the privateer, David Adeyi, the privateer rounding off the podium, a further 5.5 seconds behind. Julian Jones, P4 for ITD West, a 10th clear of Kevin Clark, with the Mario Machine, the privateer, not quite able to find P4 today, but taking the top 5 ahead of David Turn for Slipstream Sloths, and then we did have the retiree Jermaine Warren after 3 laps of racing, and then we do come to the AM class. And here we can see confirmation, your winner Kevin Manning for Photan Clan by was 8.8 seconds over Nick Bader the privateer, and then at Bearpoke Zero's Kirk Lane holding on to that final spot of the podium ahead of Tim Chong. Speaking of whom, finishing a further 10th behind for Slipstream Sloths P4 ahead of Roger Ganesh for Sunday GT Turtles, and then Glenn Bratton, Billman DaCosta, Nick Yakubov and Carl Peterson completing your AM standings. Well, what a race, ladies and gentlemen. No questions asked, no doubt about it, in the fact we've got to see some absolutely brilliant racing to kick off the Far East Cup here at the Okayama International Racing Circuit. But with that, it does mean it is now time for us to wrap up. Well, thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's broadcast, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Middle of the Pack Racing League community, or perhaps you want to know about what's upcoming over the remainder of 2024, and how you can be on the grid for the upcoming series hosted by the North American community, we do recommend that you check out firstly the official Discord, invite link available on screen, and there's never been a better time to join the Middle of the Pack Racing League community for the simple reason it's a friendly community first and foremost. The racing is always at its finest, and we would love to have you on the grid. But perhaps you're a little bit shy, or perhaps you're not feeling as though you want to join the Discord, perhaps you're more of a social media person, we do recommend you follow us on Twitter at the twitter.com/MOP Racing link there, as you can see, because you can stay up to date with all the latest announcements regarding the Middle of the Pack Racing League series, and also the trials and tribulations of the official Middle of the Pack Racing League esports teams. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, attention now turns to a week's time, and well, we start off with a race in Japan, and we're going to have another one next week with round number 6 being hosted at the Tsukuba circuit. And well, given the racing will be happening on what will be Wednesday, the 28th of February 2024, we're going to be bringing it to you as if it were live this coming Saturday, the 2nd of March 2024, and it's not going to be around you're going to want to miss for the simple reason this circuit is packed with tight and highly technical corners. It is a circuit where you're going to see the very best in our drivers' driving capabilities when it comes to cornering and brake application, and we are bound to see plenty of battling under braking. Does it sound good to you? Well, it sounds good to us here in the commentary booth, and you'll want to be there next Saturday to see how all the action played out in round number 6. But until then, we have been the Middle of the Pack Racing League. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Brit and a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.